It is 7 p.m. Good afternoon and welcome all our neighbors of Castle Hills to this meeting for the Zoning Commission scheduled for 7 p.m. Let's make sure we have a quorum. We'll be reviewing those that are viewing us through Zoom. I believe I see one member of our Zoning Commission, Skip McCormick at this point, and Walter's on. Okay, so he's joining at this point. So we should have a quorum. If we can take roll call, I would appreciate it.
Commissioner Jackson. Here. Commissioner Herndon. Here. Commissioner Bueller.
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner McCormick.
Yes.
And Commissioner Solis.
Present.
You have a quorum, sir.
Thank you, sir. So we'll go ahead and start our business. We call the meeting to order. We consider the approval of the minutes that were the Zoning Commission from August the 4th of 2020. Hopefully you've had an opportunity to review them. I'll entertain a motion at this time.
So moved.
Sir, I have a motion. I'll need a second. I have a second to my left. Thank you very much. A motion and a second. Are there any additions, corrections? Seeing none, we have a motion. I have a motion. I have a motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Our first item is public hearing on the application from Kevin Love to request a change of zoning from A single family district to AA single family district on lot located at 101 Hibiscus, Castle Hills, Texas. Legal description PB 5778, Woods of West, Lot 1D. Before we get started, I need a clarification from our city attorney on this, and there was an issue that was brought up reference to signage and the proper adherence to the ordinance that is put forth by the city of Castle Hills. Mr. Schnall, are you on the phone?
No, I'm on the Zoom.
Even
Mr.
better.
Chairman.
I appreciate that. So give us your ruling, sir.
Well, my opinion is that the applicant has not complied with the provisions of the zoning ordinance that require a sign to be posted visible from each street on which the property borders.
Which would then nullify our ability to take action today in reference to item 4, correct?
That would be correct. It does not preclude or prevent the holding of the public hearing, and out of consideration for any members of the public who might be in the council chambers, and I see one citizen who's also on the Zoom, and there are 3 people on the Zoom non-video. I think that you would open the public hearing and allow anyone who wishes to speak this evening on this item to
Appreciate
speak.
you. Thank you. The commission will now make a ruling. Sorry about that, guys. So we have a motion to be able to move the meeting for item number 4 for discussion and possible action on the application for Kevin Lund until December.
Commissioner
We have a
Jackson,
December 1st.
can you repeat that into the mic? I'm sorry.
I'll move that we postpone the hearing on this application until the signs can be posted properly. And this is number 4, and postpone it until December the 1st.
I want to make sure the clarification is that item 4 is discussion and possible action on the application of Kevin Love is what is being moved
That's
to
correct.
December the 1st. Reason is the next board meeting would have been on November the 3rd, which I think is a very practical day in which we would be very busy that day. So therefore, it is being moved to December the 1st. I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion by the zoning commission? Any discussion? Discussion?
Have we just passed over number 3?
No, sir. We're just taking what the direction is for item 4, and we'll come back to number 3 right after this.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
As I understood Mr. Jackson's motion, it was that we move both item 3 and item 4 to the December meeting. Did I mistake that?
No, sir. His item is just for item 4.
Just for item 4.
The action, we can no longer take action as the ruling that was brought forth by our city attorney. We have a motion and a second. Seeing no other discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Now let's go back to item number 3. That, my friends, is available to you, and I would ask the people in the audience, it is your choice if you want us to go ahead with the public hearing. The commission has it on its agenda to listen to all of you tonight. We're more than willing to listen to you tonight and then listen to you again in December. What say you in the community? You can raise a hand and I will get the commission to act accordingly. Which one would you like to present tonight, knowing that you'll be doing it once again in December? 2. Okay. So the audience is passing on those that have signed up. Ms. Blakely, you're also on Zoom. Is anybody on Zoom that would like to speak? I guess my question is, there's other items to discuss and we have other items to go through. If not, then I'll need a motion for item number 3.
No, Mr. Chairman, what you'll need is to open the public hearing, see if anyone wants to speak, and then close the public hearing. It does not require a motion by the zoning commission. Just
Okay.
open the public hearing, announce the time, ask if anyone wants to speak, let them speak if they wish, and if not, close the public hearing and announce the time again, and then you'll be prepared to move to item 5.
Okay, thank you, sir. So item number 3 is a public hearing on the application from Kevin Love to request a change of zoning from A single-family district to AA single-family district on a lot located at 101 Hibiscus, Castle Hills, Texas. Legal description, CB 5778, Woods west of West, Lot 1D. Public hearing is now open. Is anybody would like to speak at this time? Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Thank you for your time today. Abel Martinez at 105 Hibiscus. I really just wanted to make a comment for the zoning commission's consideration. I abut the property or very close to it, to 101, and I am adamantly opposed to the current rezoning. It would significantly impact my property values, and I just want the commission to note that as a resident of the community and a neighbor extremely close to 101, it is extremely impactful to me, and hope that you will consider this as you move forward. I'll reserve my other comments until the next hearing date in December. But again, I thank you for your time and just want to reemphasize the impact that this will have, not just on me, but the future of Castle Hills, especially in this community. Thank you.
Thank you.
The commission noted
Yes,
that
sir.
Mr. Martinez provided correspondent. It was in your packet.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Name and address, please.
My name is Renee Colleen, my wife Jessica. Actually, we abut the property from both angles. We are the homeowners at 103 Hibiscus and also 6815 Castle Hills. So we are the West Avenue. Sorry. We are the homeowners that are most directly affected by this. I'd just like to let the board know that we are strongly opposed to this, which we will discuss in the next meeting on December 1st. I just wanted to make our case, that it be known to the board that as the most directly affected residents, we strongly oppose this.
Thank you
very
for
much
coming.
your time, and we'll talk to you on December 1st.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Anybody else? Yes, sir. What? Come on in.
Yeah, my name is David Lewis. I live at 212 Hibiscus. I'm one of the applicant members who's applying for this rezoning. And the only thing I wanted to ask, and everybody in this room, we will entertain now till December, whatever, any other options and ideas that they may have that I could present, because I am just a employee or a consultant for the owners and the engineer. And anything that would be something that could be worked out between the owners and the citizens that would work, be more than happy to entertain.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone else? Anyone else?
Chairman, since you do have the public hearing open, I just wanted to also let you know that we received correspondence from Mr. Baker, Ms. Fernandez. You received copies of those, and then letters from Mr. and Mrs. Ackley, and a petition submitted by Mr. Peter Bella.
I see the petition. All those will be given to us and reminded to us again in December.
Mr.
At this-
Mr. Chairman, I believe, you can't see it on maybe on your YouTube, but I believe Ms. Blakely Fernandez wanted to speak. She'd raised her hand on the YouTube or on the Zoom.
We lost you. You're on mute, Blakely. There you go.
Sorry, I had a question about the petition the neighbors submitted. That was in response to the consideration dated today. I just wanted to make sure that the city attorney was fine that that petition would roll over to December 1st and they wouldn't have to have it re-signed and resubmitted.
Mr. Attorney, do you have a ruling on that?
I think the commission can consider that. This item was open for consideration. The action was moved to December 1st, so I think that it'd be reasonable and appropriate for the commission to consider the petition at the December 1st meeting, or at whatever meeting it intends or is ready to take action on the application.
Thank you, sir. At this time, if we have no other public comment at this time, I'll entertain a motion that we close the public hearing.
Don't need a motion, Mr. Chairman, just close the public hearing and announce the time.
It is 7:12. Public hearing is closed. Thank you, sir. Let's move on to the next item. Item 4, we've already dealt with. Item 5, discussion and possible action on recommendation to the city council on the minimum lot area as set up by section 50-64D of the Castle Hills Code of Ordinances. As we prepare for this, I'd ask for the commission to look at the fact that, as the way I see it, we are asked to be able to set up an opportunity to discuss this. And I think that I'd like to be able to do at least a couple of public hearings before we take any action on something like item 5. And I want the zoning commissioners to be able to look at that. So it is a discussion amongst ourselves in terms of discussion and possible action. I think I do have a few people signed up for it. But before we get into that, I'd like to be able to see what say my fellow zoning commissioners about whether we deal with this today. I myself would recommend that we look at public hearings to have several opportunities for the public to provide input as to what we're looking at and how it's going to be outlaid in the future. Y'all's thoughts?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
it occurs to me that if we schedule a public hearing, that is in effect taking some action on this. And so I think that would fulfill the agenda item if we decided to recommend or if we made a decision to hold a public hearing to consider this item. And it looks like that item 6 is along the same lines, because the effect of changing the zoning in this area would be to change the lot size, or to establish a minimum lot size, which we haven't yet done.
You are correct, and we'll have to deal with one item at a time, but you are correct, sir.
Then I'll recommend that we schedule a public hearing to consider this item.
That'll be is that your motion? This is just a discussion and action. Mr. Attorney, do we need to take an action on this, or is it a vote?
I would ask Mr. McCormick to withhold the motion until if there are people who have signed up to speak on item 5, it is important to allow them to speak on item 5 before the zoning commission takes action on on agenda item number 5.
I have several people signed up, there was a question in the audience. Yes, ma'am.
I'll withdraw my motion, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, good evening. I'm Jacqueline Ackley from 118 West Castle Lane. And my only request is, I understand from Mr. Appley that There has been data collected on the current average lot sizes in the various areas of Castle Hills. I think we'd all like to have that information in front of us as we go forward to consider item 5 in the future as you plan.
Absolutely.
So if that could be posted or passed out, I'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely. The transparency will be important for us all to make those proper decisions. Yes, ma'am. I have another Mr. Ackley. Thank you, sir. Mr. Baker?
Thank you. Quentin Baker, 213 Hibiscus Lane. Since we're going to speak on the rural district, I won't get into that. I'll just remind the commission that we might want to look back at the 1997 master plan, also called comprehensive plan, which does have some recommendations in there already. I know specifically the area west of West, there's a strong recommendation of a minimum of 1 acre. I do not recall on other parts of the city, but I think it'd be worth going back and revisiting that plan since a lot of time was spent on it. I'm pleased to see you taking up this issue because I think it will save a lot of friction and a lot of consternation on the part of the city to have some minimum requirements. We've had a number of issues where there's really been spot zoning requested, and having minimum lot sizes would eliminate that issue of having spot zoning and causing frictions in neighborhoods. So I'm very pleased to see you take this up and hope you can bring it to fruition.
Thank you, sir. Mrs. Baker? Mr. Bella?
Simply enough, being supportive. Good evening. Thank you. I'm Peter Bell, 110 Hibiscus Lane. I'm supportive also of y'all taking a look at that past master planning process. And I'm also supportive of the 1 acre concept. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Martinez?
Mr. Chairman, members, I'm back. I think you should consider the decision on lot size and rural district. It's an action item for today. Notice has been sent out to the public. And this decision is independent of any rezoning. They may have an effect on the rezoning, but it's independent of it. And the people that are here today shouldn't be punished because the proponents of 101 failed to follow and comply with very easily established rules of the city. And when it comes to looking at lot sizes, the city has been looking at lot sizes for a very long time. And to punish the residents because of an application that was improperly filed shouldn't be the right thing to do. The commission has a duty to look at this issue and has been looking at the lot size for quite a while. And the lot size of each property in this area has been established almost by history. You look at the lot sizes, and they're all very large. And that's one of the things that's beautiful about this community. You have a very nice lot. People have to spend an extraordinary amount of money to buy these properties, which generates a significant amount of money to the city. And so when you look at whether or not a lot size should be established, it should be independent of whether or not somebody properly filed a request for a zone change. This is the right thing to do for the community. It's the right thing to do for the citizens. And it's something that the zoning commission should look at and should consider. And if it's on the agenda today, then I really think the commission should look at it, because this has a significant impact on people in this area. And so I ask you and implore you to look at this issue today and discuss it and hopefully make a ruling on it and make the right ruling that we should have lot sizes, that we should protect our area here. And when I moved in here 1.5 years ago, I mean, I relied on previous zoning commission determinations that you have 1 acre lots or something very close to it. And so when I look back, and I know my neighbors did as well, they considered what was previously decided by the zoning commission and felt that based on what had happened before, that we were in good shape to buy this property, spend an exorbitant amount of money to build a house and to live in a community where we could enjoy. And so I ask you to consider the item, discuss it, and vote on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Carrier? Jessica and Renee? Thank you, sir. We've heard from the public. This is part of our discussion for the item number 5. At this point, we'll listen to our commissioners in whatever discussion they would like to see, and if there's any possible action they'd like to take. Any commissioner would like to speak? Yes, sir.
Excuse me, I didn't have the mic on. Looking at the draft that's attached in here, I see that you have lot widths, setbacks of 50 feet on each side, front, rear, sides. But you have lot width of not less than 100 feet. How are you going to have a 100-foot lot with a 50-foot setback on each side?
Mark?
I believe Mr. Jackson is referring to the proposed district regulations for the RR Rural Residential District. That's item 6. That's not item 5. So I believe you are still on item 5 and would ask Mr.
Yes, sir.
Jackson to defer his question until you get to item 6.
Excuse me, I'm ahead of myself.
Chairman, if you'd like, I can hand out a copy to anybody who wants a copy of the map that we put together with the data that shows the average lot size in 5 geographic areas in Castle Hills. Again, that's the data that our city engineer came up with and divided these geographic areas for discussion. The basis was 50-64 being minimum lot size, 14,000. And just to give further background to the commission, that at the time, Mayor Trevino asked the city council to look at this, and then it was asked by the commission to come up with a determination on this. And this is where we're at with giving the data here to show the breakdown specifically in these 5 sectors or geographic areas in Castle Hills, detailing the minimum lot size.
So this is part of the issue that I'm bringing up, is the fact that for our community has not given this information for them to come forward and for us to make a decision on discussion. It seems to me lacking in the fact that we should have more public hearings about this before you make such a big decision. Because I will tell you what will happen if we don't. I understood completely, and Mr. Martinez brought up a good point about those that buy and those that have been here. And then we overlay some different expectations for once they sell. That is not an easy decision to make because you're making something that is long-term. So I would prefer that we look at doing at least 1 or 2 public hearings, full information given to the citizenry for them to be able to review what is proposed, what it looks like, and how it should feel for the future. It's consistent that we have to be able to be transparent. For us to make a decision or discussion tonight that basically says this is what it's going to look like, my question is quite honestly, what does the rest of Castle Hills feel like? Because here's the reality. So we look west to west today. So what if the Estates comes tomorrow and says, we want to do it this way for our area? Then we'll have the United Nations and not a city of Castle Hills. My intent is to be able to have a good public discussion where items are discussed, where we take our time and look at it thoroughly to understand that these are short-term decisions that require long-term thinking. We cannot continue to be reactive, but rather that we look at the long-term ability for people like Mr. Martinez, who just bought into Castle Hills and we hope stays here for the next 20 to 30 years. We need to be consistent with our thought process. So my intention is that we look at a public hearing, 1 or 2, as this item comes forward for us to make a good, solid decision with the public given the information to make the decision along with us. So, yes, sir.
Just in passing, I would note that the City Council Planning Committee is also working on a comprehensive plan which would address these same issues, and I think it would be useful for us to invite them to participate in our hearing, at least as witnesses, and perhaps they may have some information that would be really useful for us. But
Excellent.
I think it's useful to combine some of this information so we don't have to redo it later on.
Correct. And that's the type of collaboration we need to start having. When we have something of such value and such importance, it's going to affect the livelihood. I mean, one of the first committees I ever sat on here was the septic tank committee. And that was whether we'd allow people to, or force people to hook up to the septic tank. That was a $20,000 hit that was going to happen to somebody just because they sold their house. I was of course opposed to that because I think it's unfair. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Stephen Ackley, 118 West Castle Lane. The only concern I have with holding public hearings is that if they were, I'd ask that they be done sooner than the next zoning commission hearing, because we just have this repeated delay, and before you know it, we might be into the next city council election before we actually have any decision on this. So I think that I would request that if we're going to have public hearings, that they be done in outside the regular schedule of this, because we'll delay it too long.
That's something to consider, and I appreciate the input. Absolutely.
Chairman,
So,
if
yes,
you'd
sir.
like, I can, obviously, anybody who requests a copy of what I have here so they can see it. And then as we move forward, set a public hearing, that'll be in the agenda packet at the next zoning meeting.
Correct. Mr. Schnall, is there anything else we need to do with it, or do I need an action, or that is it?
Well, Mr. McCormick was going to make a motion on this item earlier, and I believe partially at my request, he withdrew that motion so that the commission could hear from members of the public. There are certain notice requirements under the local government code that will need to be followed in regard to any definitive type action on this kind of an agenda item that, I will let the commission know about at the appropriate time. But there does need to be public hearing with appropriate notice published and an opportunity for the public to speak as you've indicated you wanted to have.
Yes, sir. Mr. McCormick, we're ready for your motion.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I'll move that we schedule 2 public hearings to discuss the possibility of setting lot size requirements in this area that we're talking about west of West, and that we...
Not this item, Mr. McCormick, excuse me. We're still on item 5.
That's what I said.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But we're talking about setting lot sizes in one area, are we not?
No, sir. No, this is about lot sizes in the, for all the property currently zoned single family A district. Item number 6 is specific to the creation of a new zoning district.
I'm misunderstanding that. Let me clarify my motion. My motion is to set 2 public hearings to consider setting lot size requirements for all lots in residential areas in Castle Hills, and to invite the city council to participate because of their current work on the new comprehensive plan.
Thank you, sir. I have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Mr. Solis, could I ask again with respect to Mr. McCormick? Mr. McCormick, you said invite the city council due to its work on the comprehensive plan, but I thought a few minutes ago you mentioned a committee.
The planning committee.
So would your motion be to invite the planning committee to work with the zoning commission?
I'll amend the motion to say we invite the planning committee.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. So I have a motion. I'll need a second.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Discussion?
Chairman, real quick, I'd like to ask Mr. Schnall if in order to maybe expedite this, that maybe we could have a special zoning meeting in November and then have the December meeting to have these public hearings, so we're not prolonging this process, or would that be something the zoning commission would have to decide?
Mr. McCormick has made a motion to have 2 public hearings.
On the time.
So one could be in November. As the chairman indicated, it may not be appropriate to have a meeting on November 3rd. But there are obviously other dates in November which might be appropriate for a meeting of the zoning commission for the first public hearing on this issue.
We will search for.
And then have a
date.
second public hearing on December 1st.
Yeah, we'll search for a work day for us to be able to do that as a commission. But there are 2 public hearings as the motion is set. I have a motion. Seeing no discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Item 6, Mr. McCormick, I believe you have, I have people signed up for item 6, so let's go through that process one more time. Item 6, does anybody like to speak? I have some names right here.
Mr. Solis, could you read the agenda item for the record, please?
Absolutely, I apologize. Discussion and possible action on a resolution to schedule a public hearing on whether to recommend to the city council amendment to the zoning commission, to the zoning ordinance to add a RR rural residential zoning district and to add the use, building area, height area, construction material, fencing, vehicle parking and storage and other regulations for RR rural residential district. Like I said, I do have several people signed up. Ackles? And as you recall, we said we would be moving this to December also. But go ahead, please.
Thank you. Jacqueline Ackley, 118 West Castle Lane. What I would like to do is present a beautifully written several paragraphs originated by Blakely Fernandez, unless she herself wants to say this. I don't want to step on toes, but I think it was so well put, I would like to relay it and just read her words. It explains the reason for a rural residential area, and some of the impetus behind it, and some problems it might solve for the city going forward in the future. So I read from her September 4th, 2020 email where she says, as a thought for common language, the West of West area should be designated a rural district, recognizing that our roads are rural in nature, 20 feet or less in width. We don't have storm drains or sewer service. We don't have sidewalks. Except where otherwise existing today, this rural district should be limited to 1-acre lots. The West of West Rural District provides a unique benefit to the city by providing a slow, wooded, walking and biking area that many of our residents enjoy. We welcome the tract teams that from several area schools to run in the neighborhood where they are protected by slower moving and less frequent traffic. There is no neighborhood like this in central San Antonio, and it should be fiercely protected. Several of our homes are the original hunting cabins that San Antonio built for weekend getaways many, many years ago. There is a special history and unique nature to this neighborhood that brings value to Castle Hills. The Council and Zoning Commission should help us protect it. Over the past decade, we have pushed back on large apartment complexes, which wanted to be placed on a horse farm, a senior living facility that was proposed to be placed in the middle of a residential block, an office building in the middle of a residential block, a 1,200 student charter school on a narrow lane, a PUD on Hibiscus with garden homes and huge concrete culvert, a PUD on Winston with 30+ homes. There is no shortage of ideas to cram development onto our streets for non-residential profit. Until a rural district is set over this neighborhood, the burden will remain on the residents to vigilantly protect one of the truly special little areas in Bexar County. I feel that the majority of the West of West Avenue residents are in sympathy with these ideas.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for hearing me.
Mr. Ackley?
I'd just like to add, in the as mentioned in the previous paragraphs, that we've been involved in many, many fights over the last few years to preserve the residential character of this neighborhood. And one might ask, what have we done with it, with that protection? And if you just take a look at the statistics on the west of West Avenue, you find that fully, like on West Castle Lane, South Winston Lane, Foxhall Lane, and Hibiscus Lane, I'll just go through these numbers for you. There's a total of 14 houses on West Castle Lane, and 7 have been renovated or rebuilt, or new buildings. South Winston, there are 20 homes on there. 12 have been newly constructed in that period. On Foxhall Lane, there's 38 homes. 14 have been renovated or reconstructed. On Hibiscus Lane, 16 homes and 6 have been new builds or renovations. A total of 98 homes in that area, and 39 or 40% have undergone renovation. At the present moment, there are actually 4 houses that are being either built or extensively renovated in that area. So and this is what we've done with this. And if you take a look, and I did a count on this a few years ago, and we found that the median price for homes in this west of West area is about twice the median value for a home in Castle Hills. So it's increased the tax base very measurably in Castle Hills. We currently have 8 lots for sale. And so there's still room for expansion and new building. It's a very desirable area to live residential. And as the homes of Mr. Martinez and the Colleens have shown, these are very, very nice homes, and they're added extensively to the tax base of Castle Hills. So we gain a lot by protecting this area and not allowing these other developments that would take place and degrade the value of that area. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Baker.
Quentin Baker, 213 Hibiscus Lane. First, I want to give credit to Blakely Fernandez for proposing the idea of a rural residential district for west of West Avenue. It really fits that area beautifully. It's an elegant solution to the problem we have there. I concur with the Ackleys in that it's such a choice area for the entire county that it deserves to be preserved. I did provide in an email to Mr. Rapley, they forwarded to you, some 3 language changes to the proposed resolution. I think the resolution's close to the mark, but I suggested just 3 changes to it. The first of which is to add a sentence in the general purpose part of the resolution that describes the reason that the rural residential district is being put in place. And that sentence would read, my glasses, application of the rural residential district will ensure that forest, environmental, and scenic areas are protected from incompatible development. That's just a 1-sentence addition. In section 50-394A that's proposed, there is a requirement in there that the front lot be either 50 feet or 20% of the depth of the lot. I suggest omitting the 20% rule, because for a large lot, that 20% becomes a big number. On our property, if you look at our plat, we have a front setback of 112 feet, okay, because of the depth of our lot. The problem that creates is it may force movement of structures into a location on the property where it's really undesirable. For example, an area that has a bunch of heritage oak, or an area that has a natural drainage area through it. So I would just suggest omitting that 20% rule, because for large lots, it just doesn't make sense. You just don't need it. And it becomes actually a detriment for the folks on that lot. The biggest change would be in the proposed section 50-394F to set the minimum lot size to 1 acre. That is what was proposed in the 1997 comprehensive plan. And that plan actually said strongly recommend a minimum lot size of 1 acre. If you look at the statistics for Hibiscus Lane, I haven't done it for all the other streets west of West, but if you just look at Hibiscus Lane alone, the average lot size is a little over 2 acres. Now, we have the biggest lot. We have 27 acres total. So take us out of the population, and the average lot size is right at 1 acre. Okay, so it's right in character for the neighborhood. And I'm pretty sure if we went through Foxhall, Winston and West Castle, we'd find we're close to that same lot size in statistics. So it really does make sense to establish the 1 acre lot size. With those 3 changes, I think you're really close to the mark in the proposed resolution that was with the agenda. And I really strongly encourage you to take it up with my proposed 3 changes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Did you, let me ask you a question before you leave. Did you have any meetings with our city staff references?
One more time, please.
Did you have any meetings with our city staff reference the proposal?
I did not.
Okay, thank you.
We did get some information through email exchanges, but we didn't actually have any meetings.
Thank you.
Okay.
Next on the agenda, Mrs. Okay, Mr. Bella. Thank you, sir. Mr. Martinez.
Mr. Chairman, you probably heard enough from me tonight, so I'll keep it really, really short. Thank you for your time. I really do appreciate this. Is really important to me and my neighbors, the Colleens, and then the people that live in the area. So I just want to say thank you for your time. And obviously, I support the rural district designation. I think it's really important. I mean, basically what I'm asking you to do is to really create a concept in the concept of the reason why I moved here. And so again, I thank you for your time and really do appreciate you taking the time to listen to us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chairman, I received an email from Ms. Fernandez. She'd like to speak on this item.
May I go ahead?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, thank you, Chairman. Thank you for considering this on the agenda tonight. I know it came just a few weeks ago. I really want to encourage the Zoning Commission to think of the rural district proposal separate from the lot size question that's citywide. I don't know that the whole city has been addressing lot size issues on an ongoing basis like we do in the west of West area. But we get speculators nonstop for, as Ms. Ackley said, you have to put an office building between 2 homes, trying to use a religious exception to put a charter school with 1,200 kids on a road that's less than 20 feet wide. We have so much nonsense that the city and the residents have to constantly contend with. This overlay district would make such a big difference, and it would protect the spirit of what were the original hunting cabins for Bexar County. This really should be its own sort of historic neighborhood, not for the historic homes, but for the historic lot sizes. That's what this was designed for. And since 1997, it's been anticipated these would be 1 acres. Since I've lived in Castle Hills, we've been told that there's a comprehensive plan in the works and that we shouldn't talk about a rural district yet, that we should wait for the comprehensive plan. That's been 8 years for me. It's probably gone on longer than that. The comprehensive plan is going to address a lot of things and going to have a lot of pushes and pulls as it's finalized. I don't think that there's anybody in our neighborhood that is against protecting the rural nature. And the speculators come in and want to add density without regard to the street width, without regard to the fact that we're in a septic area, that we have lower speed limits, and that we are an attraction for the schools to use our roads for pedestrian traffic. We shouldn't be adding extra traffic to this. We shouldn't be adding density that creates blind spots. This is worth protecting. And I hope that the Zoning Commission in the city will look at this separate from the other larger citywide processes that probably deserve to take more time. I don't think we need more time on this one.
The action, thank you, Ms. Fernandez. The action that is being before this commission is the resolution and to schedule a public hearing. That's exactly what I will recommend, if not two. Here's the reality of what we're dealing with. I wish we had a petition of everybody in this area that says the same as this one, that they want to see these changes happen to their community. That's important that we do that. This is, to me, a question of how we look at precedent versus preservation. The reality is, once again, if we decide to just do one thing for one area of our community, what prevents the other area to say, this is what we want for our community? And we'll have a separated community instead of a full city of Castle Hills. It's interesting, the zoning commission, our role is a ruling that affects the full city. It's not just for one area, it's for the full city. So therefore, public hearings are essential for us to have that transparency that is key. So the full city understands what we're about to embark on. If we so decide that the rural area is sufficient and necessary and the ruling is happening that way and the recommendation goes to the council, then so be it. But I want to make sure from the zoning commission perspective is that we have full transparency. And honestly, for me to have input by email only is insufficient. If all you did as a community have an email exchange with our staff and then get to this recommendation and expect a resolution, well, that's wrong. That is not the way to do business. That's not to be able to look at the big picture, as we talked earlier. As I mentioned earlier, this is not about a short-term thought process. This is a long-term process, because what happens is once we set this precedent that we're going to look at one specific neighborhood within our community and preserve it or lock it into where it's at, then what prevents the other ones from coming forward? And then, like I said earlier, we will no longer have a city of Castle Hills. We'll have a city of United Nations with everybody having their own area. That's something for us to discuss. That's why we'll have the public hearing. I'm hoping Mr. McCormick recommends 2 public hearings because I think it's warranted. But any time that you do zoning by email, unacceptable. That means there wasn't public input. That means it wasn't transparent, and that will not be held by this zoning commission. So I will leave it up to discussion from my zoning commissioners, but I would want to hear my zoning commissioner, Mr. McCormick, once again give a recommendation for us to have public hearings, because that is the request that is before us today. Mr. McCormick, do you have a motion?
That sounds like my cue. Yes, I'll move that we schedule 2 public hearings to determine whether to submit a resolution or a recommendation to the city council as to the rural area designation for the area west of West. Do I need to rephrase that? Perhaps so.
Mark?
Mr. McCormick?
Yes.
This agenda item permits, the only action permitted is the scheduling of a public hearing on whether to recommend to the council the creation of a zoning district called the RR Rural Residential District, which may include the text that was attached as Exhibit A to the resolution, but not the actual changing of zoning. The local government code requires public hearings. Our local ordinance requires public hearings by the zoning commission, and local government code requires public hearing by the council on even the creation of the RR district. When we get to the point where the RR district is approved, if we get to that point, then the council and the zoning commission, first the zoning commission and then the council, will be asked to consider what areas of the city of Castle Hills would be rezoned to the RR Rural Residential District. Once that is determined, we will have to send notice to the owners of every property which is subject to rezoning, plus all properties within 500 feet of any of those properties. That's why this is a multi-step process. So this evening's motion should be limited not to rezoning west of West Avenue, but rather to have the 2 public hearings on whether to recommend to the city council that the RR Rural Residential District be created.
Then I'll amend my motion to include the commentary that you just gave us, which is to say, I'll move that we have 2 public hearings to determine whether or not to recommend to the city council that we create an RR Rural Residential Zoning District. And to include the use, building area, height area, construction materials, fencing, vehicle parking and storage, and other regulations for our rural residential district.
Thank you, sir. We now have a second.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Discussion? Excuse me, sir, but we have already finished with the public comments. Yes, sir?
Although Mr. Baker recommended that the text of the resolution be changed, I'd like to point out that the resolution, the draft resolution that Mr. Bosnell has a mathematical error in it, because he is saying that the dimensions of the lot should be 100-foot frontage by 200 feet deep.
That serves our point, sir. The point that we're at right now is voting for the public hearing. So you are correct. We'll be able to address those issues in the future. I appreciate you, and I apologize for cutting you off. But we do have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those passed. I would recommend to the city manager that since we have continuity and synergy with these 2 items, that we can set the public hearings up for the same day. So we don't have citizens coming all the time. We can do it so that we have both items just on the public hearings together so that we can have the same synergy with those that are interested. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to respond. There was it was a typographical error in the draft that was circulated to the zoning commission and put on the website in regard to the lot size in the RR district. That was supposed to be 43,560 square feet, which is 1 acre. That was corrected at about 2 o'clock on Saturday afternoon. I think Mr. Rapley posted this at about 11 o'clock Saturday morning. But the revised draft regulations for the RR district would be a minimum lot size of 43,560 square feet, which is 1 acre. As the draftsperson of this resolution and these regulations, I have no objection to Mr. Baker's suggestion about rewording the purpose sentence along the lines he said, or removing the 20% from the front yard setback, just leaving it at 50 feet. I will incorporate those revisions into a new proposal separate from this resolution that y'all just adopted. And I will consider the comment that was just made about the lot size of 100 by 200. I just need to figure out where that came from and how that can be interpreted, and be glad to make a comment about that during the meeting when you hold these public hearings. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And that's an example to me of, once again, of stuff that needs to be done in public, in transparency. Cannot be doing this by, okay, I appreciate you saying that, let's make the update change and emails and stuff like that. So we need to be able to be transparent how we work through Castle Hill. So I would suggest that the community have a meeting with the city manager, and if the city attorney is there, then so be it, to work through the issues that you see, because I think it's the viable process. A lot of times we don't put the right processes in place. We have to have checks and balances and processes and how that happens. Otherwise, we just have backroom deals and things that get done through email, which is unacceptable. So from my estimation, we need to make sure that you guys have a meeting. I would love to hear as chairman, when you come before us again, saying that we've met with city staff, we understand, and either you're on the same page or opposed, it doesn't matter to me. The fact of the matter is that you're meeting and working out the differences ahead of time is essential. At this point, I will entertain a motion. We've gone through our agenda. I'll take a motion to adjourn. Anybody?
Make a motion to adjourn.
I'll need a second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting at 7:56. I thank you all for coming out, and as our neighbors, we appreciate you. We'll see you in 2 months. Thank you. Meeting adjourned.